Hey guys, Ben from Weavix here. Today we're going to dive into the Protect package of the Walt Smart Radio System. So the Walt Smart Radio System was designed to connect every disconnected worker. It's simple, safe, and smart. If you haven't heard about it before, you can check out one of our other videos. But what we really want to dive into today is how we've helped other facilities protect their workers through the Protect package. So I'm going to tell a few stories, and I'm excited to dive in. All right, so to tell the first story, we're going to talk about mustering. So we were working with a contractor on a major site on the East Coast. They have about 700 workers daily on this facility, several different contractors, and they wanted to improve their emergency mustering. So today, the way it works is they would have to send an alert out to everyone on site. They couldn't pinpoint locations. They'd use their radio systems, cell phones, whatever was there to let people know. Typically, it got down to the foreman level. They'd have to get their crews. They'd have to go muster. They'd have to kind of account for everybody on paper and radio back, right? And figure out, hey, is everybody evacuated? Are they accounted for? Are they not? Where'd you last see them? All that manual process. So, they were pretty good at that. They got into about 30 minutes to evacuate and account to everybody, but they wanted to do better. A couple problems there, right? You have to evacuate everybody. Well, what if I only need to evacuate a subsection? Now I'm wasting time evacuating everyone that was safe and could keep working. The other thing is, it's very manual. So how do I let everybody know that there's an issue, right? In their own language, right? They acknowledge it. We can see they acknowledged it. And how do I automatically check people in? So that way I don't have people with chat tablets, writing people. I know where they were. So Weavix has a lot of that capability. Since everybody has a Walt Smart Radio, we can now, say, hey, who's in this area? Send them the message, and then use proximity-based location to say, hey, now they're close to the muster area. Check them in. So long story short, they were able to evacuate only 300 of those 700 workers. The other 400 kept working, and they were able to get them all mustered and accounted for in about half the time, so 15 minutes. So in an emergency situation, minutes matter. We were able to save about half of those. Okay, so we just talked about how the plant can let a worker know, or workers know if there's a problem, but how do we flip that the opposite way? How do workers let safety know that there is a problem happening? So let's take an example. Let's say that a couple folks are working down in a tunnel underneath a paint booth in a 3 million square foot manufacturing facility, right? They're working together. They're a little bit remote, and let's say one of them, God forbid, has a heart attack. Well, what would they do today? Well, hopefully, if one of them has a radio, they can radio in for help. But a lot of times, either they don't have a radio, or the radios don't work in the tunnel, or it's just not optimal to figure out how to get help. So if they had no radio, you've got the other person running up, yelling for help, somebody finding a way to contact safety, hitting a button somewhere, radioing in, phone call, whatever else. All the while, this person is having a heart attack. Well, with Weavix and the Walt Smart Radio System, that becomes very easy. Every device has a SOS button. They would just simply push that button, hold it, and that would alarm everybody within a given area. So everybody that's close to them, as well as letting the safety manager, plant manager, anyone know whether they're on or off site that there's a problem, letting them know where those people are, and letting them kind of come directly to them. So all I would have to do if I'm sitting there and helping somebody that's having a heart attack is press my button and then know help is coming and focus on kind of saving that person's life. So in those critical events, seconds matter, and having a very, very slick process can make all the difference. Okay, so for the last example, let's talk about incident investigation. So the Walt system is collecting a ton of data, right? And we can use this data for all sorts of different things. Think about, an ammonia leak, who might have been affected. But really what we're thinking here is, how do we go back and look at an incident and figure out what really happened? So let me give you an example. There was a gentleman down at a petrochemical facility down in the southeast U.S. He hit his arm on a guardrail, kind of hurt, but kind of tough through it. Went home, right? And let's say his wife made him go to the ER, right? He's complaining about it. She goes, go to the ER, right? Well, it turns out it's fractured, right? That's what he says. So he comes in the next day to the safety manager and says, hey, I hit my arm on the guardrail. I thought it was fine. I went home. I had to go and go to the ER because it kept hurting. Turns out I fractured it, right? Safety manager says, sure, I get it. Go ahead and fill his paperwork out. Go home. We'll start the process, right? So today, right, it would be kind of a he said, she said scenario. You'd have to go figure out, well, who was around, right? It'd be really hard to figure out. You'd have to take people's word for it. 99.9% of people don't want to screw the company, but there are those out there that do. And we want to hold everybody accountable. So, in this scenario, right, the company went to Weebix and they looked at our history of who was around that person within a couple hour window. So they were able to definitively say, hey, these 4 or 5 people were around and could have witnessed that. They brought him in and interviewed him. Stories aren't quite aligning, right? So they call this guy out. Turns out, he broke his arm playing softball the night before. So that avoided an OSHA recordable for this whole site. Lots of things you can use this data for, but keeping the whole organization safe and accountable is a really powerful tool. So to conclude, Walt is simple, safe, and smart. You can see how we've really honed in on that safety piece with our Protect package. Now I could talk for hours about all the things that Walt can do, and there's several stories we could talk about, but I think this gives you a high-level overview of how Walt can help keep every worker in your facility safe.